This is the Superpower Radio Show with your host, Brenda Major,
Mia Dawson.
and this is a super special show. I know you listeners are just tuning in, but we've already been through half the show
Yes.
just because of who these guests are.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got Tamakisha Meeks and Tangy Williams from the Chicago area. You've got Lonnie Manns from North Carolina. You got Nick Richardson from Baltimore. And of course, Mia and I are in Central Illinois. And we
Mm-hmm.
brought these guests back together partly because these are people who you loved listening to because they are
Yes.
so inspiring, so deep. I know Nick's like, really? They like listening to me? Absolutely.
They did. They did. They sure
Absolutely.
did. They sure
And
did.
so and I appreciate, Nick came on earlier and I said, hey, this is our holiday show, if you will. And he said, okay, well, but if we don't celebrate Christmas, should I come on? Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yes.
Because
Yes.
because the first question that I want to pitch to all of you is how do you navigate through all of the stuff,
Yeah.
all of the stimulation of
Mm-hmm.
this holiday season, whether you celebrate it or not?
Correct.
Suddenly your kid who likes structure and order, and now you got people in red suits and hats and you know trees and blinking lights and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not going to go in any particular order. Whoever wants to talk, just go for it. How
Well,
do
I'll
you handle?
jump in because I'm not sure how old everyone's is. My kid's 11. So
Okay.
he still believes in Santa.
Oh,
Oh.
And, his dad has this whole thing. If you're a naughty boy at school, I'm going to call Santa Claus. We found out
wow.
Santa's his uncle. So that's who he made his uncle. And so if he ever sees this show, he'll find out. But for the most part, he's more well behaved during this time of year. He actually loves this time of the year. He says,
Hmm.
"Mom, I
Oh.
wish Christmas would last forever." However, our goals in our home is to still keep the same scheduling. We just
Okay.
add a sprinkle of Christmas because again, it can be overstimulating. It can be a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
presents, the people,
Hmm.
people talking about break and what is winter break and all of that. And so
Mm-hmm.
we tend to keep the same schedule. And then we have a calendar that he gets to mark off about Christmas. And so that's kind of how we manage it here.
Okay, so you got Santa as the regulator then.
Yes, Santa runs things, aka Uncle Chris.
Yes.
So Nick, how does your family, kind of navigate through this time of year? I mean, I have a sister who does not celebrate Christmas, and when we do our family Zoom, I usually substitute winter. And we don't
Oh.
really get into the all of the ho 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 stuff,
Mm.
out of respect for her. And I know there are listeners who are, in that
Oh
same
yeah.
situation. So how do you deal with it?
So we don't celebrate Christmas, but we celebrate Kwanzaa.
Okay.
And
Okay. Okay.
so we try to embody those principles, not just this time of the year, but not just during in December, but the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the seven principles of Kwanzaa, we do light our Kanara
Mm-hmm.
and or a candle holder. We like that. We talk about what each principle means on that day, and in our
Mm-hmm.
household, it's not a like a big, grandiose celebration. Normally, it's just myself, my wife, and my son, and we may and have on occasion gone to some community Kwanzaa celebrations,
Okay.
where during this time of the year, if we are purchasing things, we do try to purchase um, items for our son that are educational, homemade type of,
Mhm.
toys or gifts. They call it zawadi in Swahili for the children. So we definitely try to like center our household around the the principles and try to do more teaching and educating around this time.
Okay.
And if my son happens to get a gift, then it's normally like a book or something around those lines. But in his routine, because our celebrations in home are not super extravagant, it doesn't take him away from what he's traditionally knows as his routine. And so, just like it was mentioned earlier, it's just like sprinkled in. And, we try not to do something that's totally drastic so it can be overstimulating for him. But we are, but even throughout the year, we would go to different events, even outside of the Kwanzaa season. So my son is accustomed to going to different events, period. So we're like festival goers and things like that. And we try to go out and support anyway. So during this time of the year, it's not as far of a stretch for my son because we do it or try to do it as often as we can.
Okay.
Now, does your extended family celebrate Kwanzaa, or like if you go to grandma's, or if you go to your, aunt and uncles, or how does that work?
So inside of my family, on my side, we don't do much Christmas on my side of the family. Our family holiday, we call Family Day, that a lot of people know as Thanksgiving. We call it Family Day, and so that's like the holiday we kind of spend with my side of the family. My wife's side of the family, they do celebrate Christmas, but just because somebody celebrates Christmas, that doesn't mean that we won't celebrate with them. We will go and spend time with family and engage with family, because that's also a part of Kwanzaa as well, the unity of it all. And so it's not that we won't be around people. It's just that we look at it from a different perspective and what we're celebrating.
Okay. I like that.
Okay. And Tangy, you named your son, I believe, Nicholus, because of Nick. So
Yes.
so tell us about this time of year in your household.
Well, it's somewhat like Nick. Our family, I am the big Christmas person in the family. I love Christmas, and I love spiritually what it stands for. And Nicholas, he relate to and equate certain things with each other. So like for holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Halloween, he knows he's gonna see family. He knows he's gonna see friends. So it's not so much. There he is.
Yeah, he's like, it's not talking about me. I'm coming back.
Yeah. He stepped away. I ordered dinner because I know we were going to do this. So we are really planners. We have to plan and strategic everything. So even this event, I said, well, let me order dinner because we have things to do. So with Nick, anything dealing with if a holiday is coming, he know he's going to see family. Any kind of activity that's dealing with a holiday, like even Halloween, whatever the case may be, he know that there's family involved, and he loves being around family. Now, for me, I just love how, I don't know, there's something about the time of the year. This for me, I associate it as being, I know some people get sad around this time, but I don't. I really look forward to the end of the year and think about all the goals that we have accomplished and being thankful for all the things that we have. And so that's what I look forward to. So I can count down and check off all of what we've accomplished, because we are really goal orientated. So coming to the end of the year and looking about everything, not so much what we could have did, but looking at the glasses half full. So I'm really excited about the end of the year, so we can check off all the things that we said that we wanted to do at the beginning of the year and what we actually accomplished. Now, coming to his middle name not knowing how wonderful he was going to be as a young man, I named him Matthew because Matthew means first gift. Although I do have an oldest son, but the word gift
Yeah.
and having him, that when I looked up Matthew and I saw gift, I could not name him nothing but Matthew. I knew he was going to be special. Didn't have heartburn, didn't have any issues with pregnancy with him. He was my pregnancy gift. And he was a day late, but he wasn't $1 short.
One day. I was 3 weeks late. One day.
He was a day late, but not $1 short. He was he was wonderful pregnancy, wonderful baby. And truly, I didn't know what I was getting, but I'm glad I named him Nicholas Matthew because he's truly a gift. He's not my first gift. I do have an older son, but he is truly a gift.
Noted. Lonnie, what about you? What's it like in your household around this time?
This year is a little bit different because my wife works Thanksgiving and she works Christmas.
Oh,
But typically we spend a lot of time with family. My wife is one of 5. And so typically we spend it with her family, and it's a big, people fly in from all over the country.
oh wow.
It might be 10 or 12 of us. It's pretty nice. And this year we weren't going to see each other, but her sister and brother-in-law and some other families coming on the 23rd. So we're going to celebrate early on the 23rd. And so we see family a couple times a year, and it's, my son loves it. The kids love it. So we're looking forward to it. And it's funny because our kid is 12, and we got the elf on the shelf, and we still big into all that, right? And so, but he's at that age where I don't want to crush my baby's dream, but he's getting a little bit older. So I'm like, I don't know how to, I got to figure out how to, start.
Are you gonna tell him?
I ain't got it in me. Somebody at school got to do it. Somebody at school.
Say that. I'm not gonna do it.
Oh,
I
okay.
can't
So
do
y'all
that.
get ready, because when they come home, asking, it can't be true. Say it isn't so.
Well, look, every morning that elf is somewhere different, and that is like, joy. You know what I mean? So I'm not at a point where I want to take that away yet. So we're looking forward to it. The one thing we do every holiday when we do see family, we make all the kids put the screens up.
Wow.
I don't care.
Wow.
I don't.
Awesome.
Nope. It's going up. I ain't got yet.
Awesome.
I'm bigger than you. Put it up.
Yes,
And
that's
so
right.
we bust our Uno, we bust our Connect 4. We got a lot of games, and so we spend time.
Wow.
So now everyone's used to us playing these board games, so it's kind of fun. We always have a lot of fun doing that.
Okay.
Right.
And I know Mia is like, the Christmas queen. So
Yes.
hey, look, and then Christmas in the new house, and last we talked, Neo, who doesn't really like change, is not feeling this beautiful new house yet.
And he's still not feeling this beautiful house. Yeah. He's not. He let us know once again that he's angry and that he loves this house forever. And when he turns 16, he's going to get his car and drive back to the old house.
Oh my.
Yeah, he let us all know. He turned 16 on the 18th, guys.
Whoa.
Although he's not been behind nobody's wheel, we were trying to figure out how he was going to drive.
Look, hide the keys.
We haven't practiced. We haven't did anything, but he said he's driving back to the old house. So Christmas is usually a good time around here, but he is not feeling it this year. He's really been processing. You can tell he's processing. He keeps asking these questions. How long are we staying at this house? Is it 100 days? Yeah, he's giving out numbers now. Is it 100 days? Can we come back? I said, no, somebody else is going to live here. Well, then I'm going to come back. Are they going to let me in? No, they're not, because you don't live here. I mean, it's this whole. So we're like, buddy, you're going to be 16, and your birthday's the 18th, and Christmas, what do you want? I want a car so that I can drive myself to church, and then I can drive myself back to the old house. That's what he told me.
No.
Yeah.
So it's pretty hard around here right now. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's pretty. He has a piano recital on the 15th. He's excited about that, but then it goes right back to the house. So he's not processing very well right now.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my.
A lot of questions every day, all day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we kind of went through that. We've been in this house for the 4 years, and we
Okay.
moved in December.
Okay.
But luckily, we didn't sell our old house. My sister moved into the old house.
Oh,
But
my son would have loved that.
'Cause you could
the
go
only
back.
issue is with that is that see, your situation is, I would say, better because why? Because he knows he can always go back to the old house.
Oh.
And by you guys selling a house or whatever the situation may be, then there's, because we have to, in our situation, is boundaries and no, this is Auntie Deborah's house. This is not your bedroom. This is her guest room. So, and they don't make it any better.
Yeah, no, they don't. No. And we've been in this house for 17 years.
Oh,
So this
wow.
is all he knows. This is
Yeah.
all he and we were like, dude, you're gonna have your own room. And he could have had his own room in this house. He just didn't want to go, he didn't want to be on the stairs. We actually have a ranch. So he has his own room and his own bathroom. And he was like, he did not care about none of that. He just it did, yeah.
So
Yeah.
Mia, is this first big change for him?
No, actually this year he's had a lot. So I'm actually not, this entire year has been his doctor moved away. We switched we switched his dentist. Where he gets his horse lessons at, though 2 people left. So he's had back to back to back since January.
Yeah, that's
This
tough.
is the biggest, huge one, but I told Brenda, I said, that's why we're kind of like not saying anything, because we know he's had a lot of change since January, a whole lot. Yeah.
Wow.
Actually, that's a blessing in disguise.
It is.
He's learning it really early.
Okay.
And it's good to learn that at his age or even younger, because when you have that routine and when our kids like that, they have to have structure, they want their routine. But if there's things that's foreseen, that's changes happen, and that there's nothing that you can do about it, that's the better for them.
Okay.
Because when we changed schools, oh my goodness, when he left, there was a program called I Can Dream here in Illinois. And that program, he had been with that program, Nicholus had been with that program since 12 to 17, almost 18 years old. And he still talks about I can dream, I can dream. You're out of school, dude. And you're still talking about when can we go back to I can dream. So learning those, you just don't know, that is such a blessing to have those changes such an early age. And even though I know it's a lot to kind of digest, but for him to get all of that all at once, it's going to be the better for him.
Tangy, I agree with you 100% because I know my son, he's an ABA, which they come to the house for us. And if you guys know anything about the ABA folks that they do it, it's predominantly young women that are in this job that, they come and go, they fluctuate a lot. And I remember when we first had the big change, Lance was like, Mom, well, what happened to Aaron? Well, so I had to explain, giving him the narrative I needed him to have as far as what happened to her, and that it wasn't him, and things will change, and so now when they come and go, he had one for a really long time. She relocated and we miss her so much. But now he understands, oh, they got another house. Oh, they got another job. Oh, they're helping other kids. So for him, the change is getting better for him. Now, the change in holidays, we still on the struggle bus regarding that. Because my son likes Halloween, and he said, well, why is Halloween over? I said, because so is October. trying to get him, and now he's in the Christmas. And so we got him a calendar
Mm,
that has all
Ah,
the holidays around the world.
yeah.
So now he can see there are holidays everywhere, and he can change to anyone he wants, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm feeling that, Tangy.
Yeah.
So,
So yeah, I wish I would have been in that situation where change was forced, even
Yeah.
with the house sometimes, because he still thinks that's his house.
yeah.
And my sister, she doesn't make it any better. Oh, let him go back there. No, he should not go back there. That's
Mhm.
not his room anymore. So having those forced changes, and sometimes actually it helps us as parents too, because
Mm.
we don't want to, we feel, I don't know about you guys, and I'm more sure it's the truth too. I honestly feel what he feels sometimes, and I don't want him to feel anything but happy all the time.
Of
Mhm.
So,
course.
but sometimes that is not good, because remember, we're only we only given this one life, and we're only going to be here. It's going to be a time where when we're going to be gone, they're going to still be here.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Yeah.
and everybody, how we treat our children, everybody's not going to treat them.
That's right.
Mhm.
So
That's
we have to prepare to, it's constantly, and it's hard because I had to figure it out for myself to try and make sure that I prepare. And it's really hard and it's uncomfortable talking about it, but we literally have to prepare them for when we're not here.
Yeah.
And that's scary,
It can be.
but we
Yeah.
have to do it, because as much as we love them and as much as what we do for them and care for them, we have to be we have to be that tough person, the heart, we have to give them the heart with we have to give them the bad with the good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we have to remind them that everybody is not going to treat our kids how we treat them. And
Mhm.
and just to go into another, I'm changing this a shift a little bit, but Nicholas is working, and he had an issue with one of his job coach, and I'm glad that that happened. He has, and I'm glad that they have it where they set up. He doesn't just have one job coach at the job,
Mhm.
and because that conflict, we saw a side of Nick that we've never saw before.
Oh.
He was
Mm.
using profanity.
Oh
He
my.
was
Mm.
his behavior, because of the issues that he had with this particular job coach, and they removed the job coach because it got to the point that it was just too uncomfortable for the job coach and Nick and the job.
Wow.
So removing that job coach and giving him that distance from that job coach, it did help the situation, but I I I'm not going to take away the lessons we learned from that conflict, and learning how to deal with conflict with difficult people. And sometimes he can be difficult. And sometimes as parents, we don't see them how others see them. So, but what happened with Yumia, that's something that I know it was a lot, but honestly, that's the best thing that could have happened to you.
So
Yeah.
the
Because
back.
he's going to remember all those changes.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, we know. We know.
Go ahead, Lonnie.
The this time of the year for me has always been difficult.
Okay.
I lost my mom in December years ago. I lost my
Mm.
dad last December.
Oh my.
Oh,
But
wow.
it's always been tough. But having kids is what sort of switched it for me and really
Mm.
completely changed the holiday for me. Now that my oldest is 12, so before it being somber, now it's joy, it's a celebration, it's a ton of fun. So
Mm.
that has been one of the good things about having them here and just seeing that joy. But you mentioned it earlier, we aren't going to be here forever. My son gets really nervous when I have a birthday. he gets really nervous when I get older. And my
Oh.
daughter calls me old man sometimes. My son gets really
Mhm.
offended, gets angry with her. So I am
Wow.
thinking about that more. That is a little anxiety he has about me and that. And so I need to start thinking more about how to um, help him through that space because I'm seeing a lot more anxiety about age and me and people. He's like, Nana is
Wow.
70, Nana's 75. What does that mean? So
Mm.
I can, in his mind, we've been to a couple of funerals. And so now he's like, he has
Oh.
that. And so I'm,
I
I'm,
was going
I'm
to ask
thinking
you,
about
Lonnie,
that.
what is he actually anxiety? Does he think something's going to happen, or is he actually explaining to you why he's getting that anxiety?
He's just like, you aren't that old. You aren't that old. Like,
Oh,
Right.
okay.
you aren't going
Okay.
anywhere like that. He's sort of like that
Oh,
type of
And then
space. So
reassuring himself. Yeah.
yeah.
reassuring himself. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Nick, how old is your son?
My son is actually uh 10. He's a couple years younger
Oh,
than Lonnie's son.
So we got a
Uh,
10, 11, and a 12. So
wow.
absolutely.
what are some of the things that you're starting to notice, now that he's 2 digits old? And
He,
and
he
what are you,
okay.
I guess, kind of dreading or gearing up for next with him?
I'm gonna be honest, and Lonnie probably has heard some of this because Lonnie and I we are on a podcast together,
Mhm.
Black Fathers and Autism. But um, so what I've noticed is my son is looking for more independence. He wants to do more things on his own.
Hmm.
But what I tell my son is the cost of independence is responsibility. So if you want
Mhm.
to do more things on your own, you have to be responsible for the things you currently have. And so what does that mean? That means like
Mhm.
cleaning up behind yourself. Like, are you brushing your
Mhm.
teeth thoroughly? Like you don't want dad to come in there and brush teeth with you. Okay, then mom and dad need to know that you're brushing your teeth thoroughly. And when we go to the dentist needs to tell us he's doing a great job brushing his teeth if you want more independence. You don't want dad telling you to pick up your toys, then I need you to pick up your toys without dad
Mhm.
telling you. And
Mhm.
so in his maturation, I have seen him do some things without mom and dad telling him. My son, my son is verbal, but he doesn't like to tell people what's going on with him. So
Oh,
he has
okay.
the ability to describe that, but it can be short one word answers like, son, how are you feeling? I'm okay. And then it's, we have to, pull some things out of him. He's getting a
Mm.
little better with telling us about his feelings and telling us about his day, but it is with a lot of work. We also have an ABA therapist who works not only with my son in home, but in the community as well.
Oh,
So
good.
Mm.
we've gone to the mall. We've gone, ordered some food. Like they've ordered some pizza with the ABA therapist, and
Mm.
so they can learn how to operate in space. Because I'm in 100% agreement with the sentiment that Tangi was saying. We have to prepare our children for a life after with us not being there. So I need
Mm.
you to know that you can do some of these things on your own. And
Mm.
my son has a huge heart. My son's heart he gets from my wife. I'll say that as long as the day is long because it's the truth. Um, but he wants to help and he wants to help
Mm.
around the house.
Mm.
So, my wife and my son have something they call folding school. So what he does is laundry
I
Mhm.
love
with
Oh, I
my wife. My son will, put together something. How can I help? I want to help. Like, show me how to do it.
oh.
And he's recently started to have a little bit of interest in cooking.
Mm.
So
Oh.
for family day, my wife made some black bean burgers, and my son was her sous chef. So he was in there, mixing stuff up and having himself a good time. He likes to get into things. Like he's
Okay.
an active learner. Like he needs
Okay.
touching and motion and
Mhm.
being engaging. And
Mm.
so we're realizing that as he gets older, we're trying to put him in more of those spaces
Okay.
for him to do stuff and learn stuff.
Okay.
The second part of your question is what am I a little bit worried about? I'm gonna tell you all the honest truth.
Mm.
I'm worried about my son dating.
Woo.
Mm.
I'm worried about how he not only just interacts with other kids, but especially females. Like,
Mm.
I'm not trying to say, however my son's life is going to be is what it's going to be, but I
Mhm.
worry about those experiences, and not just
Mm.
from his perspective, but from the perspective of the other person, because my son is around a lot of children who don't have grace for kids that have
Oh.
a disorder. So
Mm.
their expectation is that everybody's like them. You
Mm.
know,
Okay. Okay.
like, if I can do 100 push-ups, you could do 100 push-ups too. Like, you should already know and operate similar to the way I do. And so
Mm.
my worry is about the social interaction that my son still struggles with. He had an incident today at
Mm.
Mm.
school
Mm.
because he struggles with space and boundaries and how to interact with children his own age. And my son is the only child. And so
Uh,
we don't have an opportunity to practice that at home.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's
Yeah. Yeah.
learning in school and trying to interact with other children. And sometimes it's not successful,
Mm.
other
Mm.
times it is. So, I worry about the social interactions, but particularly when he starts to, try to figure out what dating is and how that is supposed to happen. And, I worry about his response to people and others' responses to him, because there is a lot of learning that our society still needs to do when it comes to dealing with anybody, any individual that's on the spectrum or has another diagnosis. If it's not
Mhm.
autism, something else, dyslexia, dysphagia, whatever.
Mm.
So, those are the things that I worry about. And as my son starts to creep into that, puberty smell me stage, I'm
Mhm.
smelling myself
Mhm.
type of
Mhm.
stage. Like,
Mhm.
what does that look like? How will he go into this stage of life viewing himself and viewing society?
Mhm.
Because during this stage, a lot of that tends to occur for children who aren't on the spectrum.
True.
Very
Right.
true.
So,
Very
so
true.
even if we take the neurodivergence out of it,
Mhm.
a lot of kids are going through the whole same thing. And so, if you're
Oh
trying to
yeah.
figure yourself out and you're not on a spectrum, say you're not in, you don't have a neurodiverse mindset,
Mhm.
uh, and then you're dealing with somebody who does have a neurodiverse
Mhm.
mindset,
Mhm.
the just the thought process of the change for somebody that does not have a diagnosis and a change for somebody that's having a diagnosis, and you're putting all of these kids in the same classroom, and then
Mm-hmm.
you wondering why they kicking, cussing, fussing, and yelling at each other because they
Mhm.
don't understand themselves. They
Yes.
definitely
Mhm.
don't understand each other, and they're not giving grace. And
Wow.
so, my son, I've been in his classroom and I can see the way some of the kids look at him. It's like,
Mm.
I get the feeling that they feel like my son is weird.
Mm.
Okay,
Mm.
he could be to them, but
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
our home, he's a good dude. He has a
Yeah.
big heart, and
Yeah.
so that's what we try to fortify him with, that you're a good person, because my son can also get in his head about things
Uh,
and spiral, much like any other child.
yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
he has a diagnosis, he can center on that negative thought. So we're learning to guard him up and prompt him up with more positivity, so that he can feel, so that when something comes, he can still react in a positive manner and then think of himself
Yeah.
as still a good dude and not what everybody else is trying to feed him.
When
Nick, does he
But
do
Nick,
better with
no,
older kids?
go ahead.
Does he do better, Nick, with older kids? I heard you say just says because usually that I know Neil does. So does he do better kind of with the older? That's probably a couple years older than him.
No.
He does not. Okay.
No. And I think it depends on like the age gap. Like if you're
Okay.
because my son is 10 now, like if he was dealing with like a teenager that has like some understanding of differences, then
Mm-hmm.
maybe so.
Okay.
But if you're talking, you know, a couple years, my son is in the 5th grade, and so if you're
Mm-hmm.
talking like a 7th grader, 8th grader, maybe not,
Okay.
because they're still in that phase of trying to, you know,
Yep.
get
You're
themselves
right.
squared away.
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
Well, well, if I could, if I may, I want to jump in a bit. Just Nick, I just want to let you know, just like you found your wife, your son is going to find his wife.
Mm.
And Nicholas, he's dated a couple of times. He has had his heart broken.
Oh.
And which means my heart was broken. How dare you not love Nick? But I truly believe that there's someone for everyone.
I agree with that. I
And
agree.
you have to find your people. You have to diversify your people. And that's where we have to come in and make sure that our children are around all different types of people. And you'll be so surprised. He's had, I would say, girls on the spectrum at his girlfriend, girls that wasn't on the spectrum was his girlfriend. So it can happen, and about that, you have to do that positive reinforcement, especially about boundaries, especially about what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. And sometimes you have to get professional help outside of what we can speak to have professionals to speak to him, speak to our children about boundaries and interpersonal skills and how close should you be to the opposite sex? What's too close? How long what's the staring? All of that, all of that, a lot of that. Sometimes we can't do that as parents. And sometimes we have to get other resources to speak on that level. Because there's nothing wrong with my Nick. How dare you not? Sometimes I can't see. He's perfect, and I can't see some of the imperfections that other people can see. So you just got to diversify your people. Family is wonderful. Being around family, Nicholas loves to be around family, but I make sure he's around kids on the spectrum, kids not on the spectrum. You have to diversify his people and diversify who he's around so they can understand. Even just being with the church, even just being with the school is not enough. You have to diversify. You have to seek and have that enlarge and expand your community.
Tangy,
And just know, just like your son have issues and have I can say for myself, and I can say probably for everybody on this panel, there are some people will not give us grace.
Yes.
I don't care how you look. I don't care how much money you have. You're going to run into somebody that just don't like you.
Yeah. Tamakisha, you had your finger up.
No, Tangy is passionate, so I wanted to give her that space to just go ahead and purge and get that out. I didn't want to interrupt because as a therapist, we do that. I want to be sure I hear everything that's coming this way. So I was like, oh wait, I could wait on that one. But I feel Nick's concern as far as that, because my son has had a girlfriend ever since preschool for some reason. And they gravitate to him because he's a hugger. He loves everyone. And so I remember it's this quirky little story that I would take him to daycare, and there would be 3 girls that would line up to hug him. And of course, in his mind was really no big deal. And a mom looked at me up and down, like telling her daughter to get away from him. And I said, girl, she's just one of many. Don't worry about it. And she looked at me and she was a little salty, but my Lance is amazing.
There you
And
go.
and I let him know that although he is different, he's an amazing,
Yeah.
amazing boy. So that
Yeah.
positive reinforcement is really important. It's also setting the narrative. What narrative do we want our kids to have about themselves and about the world?
Yeah.
And so, yes, Tangy, you're on point regarding that exposure, getting the kids exposed as much as possible. You know, at my son's school, he's partnered with neurotypicals. He's partnered with special needs children. He's navigating 5th grade because he just turned 11, and so that's been a challenge. Puberty, which I think I'm frightened by it, and Tangy and Mia's already gone through that. I'm here with Nick and Lonnie. We out here struggling. And so dealing with the mood and all of that. And so, but still he's very childlike. So for him, he's told me, Mommy, I want to marry you. And I say, no, that's not possible. I'm looking for someone older.
Okay, and that's a question, because I know that Lonnie kind of struggles with that a little bit. How do you navigate through that childlike wonder that you love about your kid, but then he's got the hormones coming that sometimes he's not going to be that sweet little lovable. Help me and our listeners to navigate through that. How do you do that?
I've ordered. My talk was, it's condoms in the bathroom. Don't bring no baby home. That's all I got. So I'm here like, I don't know what to say to these kids. I ordered all kind of I got all kind of books. Some of the books is too Jesus. Some of them is too graphic. So I'm cutting and pasting, trying to learn. So I think the approach so far that's worked has been the anatomy discussions.
Yes.
Talk a lot about anatomies, and so that's been helpful. And
That's
I'm still working through that and what is normal. I do joke a little bit. I got 2 sons and a daughter. I said, my sons can date at 13. My daughter can date till 19. We got like running joke. And I told my sons I was gonna give a card to the first one who gave me grandbabies. And my wife was like, shut up, boy.
Man, you better retract that one.
We have fun with it, but I'm still going through that. Just keeping the discussions open, having conversations about boundaries. The good thing is he's still so young. He's a young 12-year-old. He isn't into girls yet. You know, he just got into fashion, which is, which is kind of hilarious. I'm like, be quiet. Who are you? Now he got in Jordans, and I'm like, I can't buy Skechers no more. He want DJs. I'm like, oh man, who told you about these? So.
Oh shoot.
I love it. Love it.
That's coming too.
Yeah, but that open and honest, that's the key, being open and honest.
Yeah.
And our kids appreciate that. They do. They really want you to be honest with them.
Yep, they do.
Yeah.
Yes, because mine will tell me if I'm not being quite honest. Mom, that's nonsense. I go,
oh.
I said, all right, well, let me come clean on that one. Let me come clean on that one. So
yeah, it's funny.
So as I hate that we're coming to a close, but we're coming to a close. But I want to hear from all 5 of you, really, because I know there are listeners who are listening on the podcast and some who will be watching on the YouTube channel, and there's still, probably a couple of things. One, my kid is never going to have to go through all of that stuff, because who really talks, who talked to us about the hormone stuff?
Yeah.
And, and so with some people, it's like, well, they'll figure it out. So that's one thing. What advice would you give to parents as they're watching their sweet little child grow up? They're still in some cases hoping and praying that they're going to grow out of their neurodiverse situation.
Oh, there's that.
And step on into normal. As soon as he gets soon as he gets to high school, he's gonna be normal.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, normal
So-
is subjective, but okay.
yeah,
So
yeah.
what are the words that you really want people to walk away with from this incredible conversation?
If I can start, if that's okay.
Mhm.
I hear a lot people say, I follow my kids' lead. I don't follow my kids' lead. It's my job to parent, to frame
Yeah.
structure, and in that context, I can follow my kid's interest. I can follow what he likes, but I gotta be the overall frame to help him build that autonomy, to help push him in places he might not go, to help him
Mhm.
become uncomfortable. A lot of our discussions now are about um, he's uncomfortable not knowing something in reading or uncomfortable in math, and I coach him through that sensation. It's normal when you're learning to be uncomfortable. Use your
Mhm.
tools. You know what I mean? So
Mhm. Yeah.
sometimes I hear I want to follow my child. No, my job is to push you. And
Mhm.
here's the frame. You ain't gotta take piano, you ain't gotta take violin, but you will take an instrument. You know,
Mhm.
you ain't gotta do basketball or football, you will do a sport. And so I think it's important as they're getting older to help expose and push them outside of areas where they might be not be comfortable. The last thing I'll say is we ordered food the other day. My son's brunching out. He wanted some dumplings. We get to the restaurant,
Oh,
the food's paid for. I'm like, go in there and get it. He was like, I ain't going in there. He looked at me like, we ain't getting it. And so he went in there, he picked the food up and came back. I was so proud of him. He was so happy with it. But I forced him into that uncomfortableness.
yeah, 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 yeah.
I think that is important. We want to keep pushing them, and because I know sometimes I can overprotect my child. And
Mhm.
I got to be
Mhm.
mindful of pushing him, even when he doesn't want to be pushed. Though that's something I would offer.
That's beautiful. Who's
Well,
next?
let me hop in right quick. I would tell all parents, you know what, get excited about learning about your kid. Because I think a lot of times we have an idea of what this kid and this kid, or if they've raised more than one kid, oh, this is how kids are supposed to be. Kids on the spectrum, if you met one, you've just met that one.
Just
They're
that one.
all very different. That's the beauty of the spectrum. So I
Yeah.
tell folks all the time, because I know people would ask, oh, is he like this? He's like that. And I'm like, no, he's Lance. That's Lance Maxwell all day.
Mhm. Mhm.
Get excited about your kid. And for me, I'm all about shepherding him. What does he like? What can we do about that? Like, he is obsessed with outer space, he's obsessed with geography. Well, maybe can lead him into geographical engineering. Maybe I
Mhm.
can lead him to these other things about NASA.
Yeah.
So but just getting to know him and give your child grace, because they're gonna learn it. Like I
Yeah.
say, my son is a slow blooming a spring. you know you can keep planting those bulbs and they never come up. But honey, that third spring in, you've got 100 bulbs you didn't even expect, and it doesn't stop. So all that to say, give yourself grace, learn about your kid, and if you can, just shepherd them in a direction you want to go in.
Good.
I can go. I can go.
Mhm.
And for what I would say that to leave, and for anybody that hear us, I would say a mixture of lead them where push them to their potentials. So I believe in what you said. Definitely push them to their potential, but also give them that courage to know that they have an informed choice, and what they want and what they want to be in life matters and it's valid. Like Nicholas, I work from home for the most part, but sometimes I have to go into the office from time to time. So with that being said, he now works. Okay, if I'm all the way downtown, how is he going to get to work? And my husband is at work. So, okay, mom, I'll just take a Uber. No, you're not going to just take a Uber. That's not what's going to happen. So what we started off with, and he took an Uber today. But we started off with public transportation, RTA. They come to the home, they pick him up from the home, and they take him. And that was a process. I'm not gonna go we don't have much time to go into those details, but First, we started off with the public transportation where they came to the house, picked him up, and picked him up and brought him back home from work. I had a doctor's appointment today. The doctor's appointment was the same time as what time he had to go to work. So I called the Uber. We talked about it. We have cameras around the house, so I watched when the Uber came. He called me, "Mom, the Uber's here," and I can hear him on the phone. As you know, the Uber, they know exactly where they're going, where your destination is. I hear him. I work at Jules Asco, and the address is 3220. I have to be to work at 8:15, and I have to be on time before he got into the black car, before he got into the Uber. And I'm at the doctor's office. I have it on speaker, and everybody's listening because I have it on speaker. But I agree with everybody. You guys, your children are not where Nick is, but you're all moving in the right direction. And some of the things that you're doing, I was not there. And I look forward to see your children when your children are at Nick's age, because you're going in the right direction. And some of the videos I've seen of Mia, your son, I didn't do all of that with Nicholus. He basically did himself, but I didn't take the time as you're taking in what you're doing with your son. And I promise you, I have not heard one misstep. I have not heard, and I'm telling you guys, keep doing it, keep believing in your children, and no. Look who's the president, because he on the spectrum. Oh, delete that, please. Delete that. But I'm telling you guys, you're good. You're really good. I'm proud of each and every one of you.
I'll go ahead and make my quick. I know that we're over a little bit, but it's cool.
Fine.
No, you're fine.
Okay. I would say for parents that have loved ones on the spectrum, or even if you're not a parent, maybe it could be a sibling or something, you are an influence in those individuals' lives, and especially if you're a parent. If you're a parent, your children, you will be a mirror of how you treat them. So whatever you reap is what you sow.
Absolutely.
So the question then becomes, what are you sowing? You know, what do you want? Just like it was mentioned earlier, what do you want your child to be, or even those that you influence? Because it may not be directly your child, but it could be a sibling or somebody else who looks at you and they mimic you. They do what they see. But especially children, if you are aggressive to your child may end up being aggressive to you and to other people. If you are peaceful with your child may end up being peaceful to you and to other people. So remember that you are a mirror, you are an influence. Your loved one on the spectrum will mimic some of the things that they see you do. Some may know better, others may not, but they would think because of your relationship to them that what you're doing is the right thing.
Yeah.
And so that then can become a part of how they operate in the world. And so we have to, what I've learned in being the dad of a child on the spectrum is I got to get my stuff straight. And that is what I think some parents forget. I think some parents forget that you have to get your stuff straight too, because you are an influence. So as you're looking at trying to groom and navigate your child to a productive and positive space, realize that may come with you updating your anger management plan, your personal anger management plan, updating your focus, updating, some of the things you may not like about yourself, or some of the things you may need to change about yourself. Some of that work may need to get done as you're influencing other individuals. So nobody's perfect. Nobody's going to be perfect. And the grace that you extend to your children is what they will learn to extend to others. And even more important, they will learn to extend to themselves.
Oh,
Because
Yes.
our children on the spectrum, they have, some high rates of some negative things that happen to them.
Yeah.
And so we
Yeah.
need to start learning how to give grace, so they can learn how to give grace and accept grace and give grace to themselves, so we can all try to be the most productive citizens possible.
Mhm. That was fantastic. All of that was, man, I would have paid to watch this show.
Yes.
And so all our listeners have to do is turn on YouTube, or, go to their Apple Podcast, or, Spotify, because now we're everywhere. So,
Now we're everywhere. Yes.
That's cool.
so
That's so
yeah.
cool.
Mia, did you want to close us out with, what your advice to some parents would be? And your son is, man, he's the social media king.
He is. Oh my gosh. Yes, he is. You know what I had to learn, I would say, is to listen. Listen. I want to listen and correct immediately. And so I was praying about it, and I could see he was getting frustrated. And it's like, you don't need to correct it right now. So, and I'm correcting because he's not saying it the way that I want him to say it, or he's missing part of the sentence. And it's like, let him get everything out and then go back over it maybe later. And I've learned to do that because he's trying to express what he's feeling, but it's kind of, it's jarred, or he's mixed some things up. And so I was getting frustrated because I'm like, oh, he should have figured this out by now, or he should have it all the sentences together. And so I would tell parents, especially when they're starting to talk and they're getting that language, to listen to what they are saying, even though there's things inside of there, even though it may be sounding jumbled or not understanding. And then later on, I've came back and said, hey, were you trying to say this, and how to, and then the next time he got better at it. But me cutting him off in the midst of his story was frustrating him, and he wasn't able to fully express, and I wasn't being present in the moment because I wanted him to hurry up, because let's be honest, I had a phone call, or somebody was coming, or I was trying to cook dinner for the family. And so I wanted it rushed, and he's trying to explain and express what he's feeling. So I would tell anyone to just listen, enjoy that moment. A lot of times they say what they need to say and they leave, because Brenda knows this for a fact. He'll say what he needs to say and then he's out of there. And then you have questions and he don't want to answer your questions.
I never get the follow up. He's just like, this bunny, this happened, and this happened, and this happened. I was like, okay, and how did you feel about that? Like, don't know. Next time, maybe.
I won't do it again. So definitely listen and be present with them at that time, and not try to, that is my weakness, of trying to rush to get to to hurry him up.
All right. We're going to have to do this big panel action again.
I love this.
Good.
I know, I'm so excited, Brenda. We gotta talk about some things over break.
Good. Thank you to our extra special guests. I'm just doing them in the way that I see him. Tamakisha Meeks, Tangy Williams and Nicholus, Nick Richardson, Lonnie Manns. Thank you all so much for joining us. And we're gonna have you all back. You already know that. So enjoy this season with your family and friends.
Yes.
And we wish the same for our listeners and viewers. Spend this time with, whether you got Santa Claus or Elf on the Shelf or the Grinch, or you've got your Canaras. Bring it all to the table.
Bring it all to the table. Yes.
Family.
Yes.
Bring family.
Yeah.
Love that. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Nicholas.
Bye.
Bye.
And he was
And
so
thank you guys
patiently.
for expanding my community. I love expanding my community.